Russia and Ukraine have had a tumultuous relationship for decades, and in order to grasp the power dynamics between the countries, you must understand their recent history and their driving forces. Hi, my name is Grace Young, and today we are going to explore the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. Russia has become one of the world's largest powers. However, the country is easily undermined by a lack of physical barriers, harsh winters, and its peripheral location on the Eurasian continent. Throughout the Cold War, Ukraine was the second most powerful Soviet republic, right behind Russia. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine declared independence in 1991. However, the newly independent Ukraine did not thrive. Their economy was ruined, millions were starving, and they were void of a sense of unity. With their new independence, Ukrainians hope to integrate into Western organizations and practices such as the European Union and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. However, many Ukrainians, especially in the East, remained loyal to Russia and took a pro-Russian separatist stance. Fast forward to February 2014, when protests erupted in Kiev due to backlash against President Viktor Yanukovych's rejection of increased economic integration with the EU. This protest, known as the Maidan Revolution, resulted in nearly 100 deaths and the subsequent fleeing of their president. Within a few months, Petro Poroshenko was elected president, and he had a pro-Western platform and hoped to push Ukraine to join Western organizations. His entire presidency posed a major political, financial, and security threat to Russia. The rejection of relations with the EU was only at the surface of the Maidan Revolution. In all actuality, Ukrainians were infuriated with post-Soviet life and the turmoil it caused them. Just days after the Maidan Revolution, Russia began illegally annexing Crimea from Ukraine. The annexation resulted in massive bloodshed, ethnic division, and animosity. Crimea had previously been a part of the Russian Empire, and Putin wanted to restore what he believed was still theirs. The control of Crimea also gave Russia access that it would otherwise not have to the Mediterranean, Middle East, and North Africa. This political stunt by Putin was a tactic to make Russia appear dominant, stable, and invulnerable, unlike their Ukrainian neighbor who had just experienced a revolution. In addition to the revolutions and annexation, in 2014, Russia instigated a gas crisis to gain a geopolitical foothold. However, this was not the first time they had done this. Russia had previously cut off gas to Ukraine and neighboring European countries in 2006 and 2008 through 2009 due to price disputes. Russia supplies 23% of the EU's gas supply, 70% of which is transported through Ukraine, placing Russia in a unique position. Though Russia is the supplier, the transit routes they so heavily depend on are in the hands of the Ukrainians. Russia has begun building pipelines to subvert Ukraine, but until those are finished, Russia is in a sensitive position. By the end of 2014, the relations between Russia and Ukraine were dire. Consequently, in 2015, the Minsk Agreement was signed to negotiate a ceasefire in eastern Ukraine. The agreement established a security zone between the countries and offered steps to end the war. Despite these attempts, the war between Russia and Ukraine has been on and off for several years, resulting in 14,000 lives lost. In March and April of this year, 2021, the Russian military positioned 42,000 troops in the Crimean Peninsula and an additional 41,000 troops near the border along the eastern part of Ukraine. The migration of troops is a looming threat to Ukraine and its Western allies. Despite encouraging Russia to retreat, Putin refuses to revoke his troops and claims that because they are in Russian territory, it is okay. He also warned Ukraine not to use force. As seen in the past, Russia is making major decisions in order to assert dominance and present itself as a world power. With the election of President Biden and his expressed allegiance to Ukraine, Russia seems to be applying pressure to the situation to assert dominance. Additionally, Ukraine is pushing to join NATO, which opposes Moscow and threatens their power. The likelihood of a full-blown war is slim due to economic costs and the potential derailment of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which would deliver gas directly to Germany and give Russia a leg up in the energy world. The future of Ukrainian and Russian relations is unknown, but it is important to view Russian influence through a geopolitical lens. Putin claimed that the collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. The hostilities and control directed at Ukraine are prime examples of Russia's attempts to establish a Eurasian Union and dominate as a superpower.